Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dave Gates. Welcome to the Solo Musician Podcast, episode number 9. We have arrived at what is probably going to be the last solo podcast for a little while. I have a bunch of guests coming up, thanks to everybody that reached out that wanted to be on the show. Excited to get together. I got a bunch of really cool people coming up, so I'm excited to share their stories with you and have those cool conversations. One of the things I really love about live music is the fact that there's so many different ways to do it. There's so many different avenues to pursue. There's solo guys, and there's band people, and there's people that do it all, and then there's bookers, and there's so many different aspects to this thing. So I'm excited to talk to some of these people and get their viewpoint on everything. Pick their brain. I got some seasoned vets coming in. So all right, so let's move on to this week's episode. So I wanted to do a standalone episode for how to get more gigs in 2024, or how to get more gigs just in general. I don't think that this is going to just apply to this year, nor do I think that this is going to apply to everybody. But I do think that if you're struggling to get gigs right now, this podcast will 100% help you. As with every other podcast that I've put out on this channel so far, this is all going to be my opinion as well. This is going to be stuff that I've done, that I tried, and that it's been tried and true for me. Doesn't exactly mean that it's 100% going to work for you, or that it's the only way to do it. A lot of this stuff I came to through trial and error. Bookers telling me what they wanted, and sometimes just me doing the wrong thing and then getting a message from the booker like, oh, well, we're not interested in that, or we didn't want this, or just not getting a response back. So these are just things that I found worked, and I hope that they work for you as well. All right, so if you were going to ask me, hey, Dave, what is the most important thing to be able to get gigs whenever you're approaching a booker, right? Whenever I first reach out to a booker, this is the number one thing that is the most important outside of being able to perform music is your website, I think. Your website, Linktree, right? Any of those services that highlight what you can do in places where people can find you. Okay. I have a website. I just put a bunch of time into it last week. Anybody who follows me on social media saw me put up a big blast about redoing the website, making it a little bit easier to navigate. And most of that's because I found myself slipping. I caught myself slipping, right? I looked at my website edit log, and it came up with, I hadn't done anything on my website since June of 2021, which is terrible. That meant that there was a bunch of broken links. There was a bunch of bad pictures on there. There was a bunch of just useless content, stuff that didn't apply anymore. So I went through and cleaned all of that up and just gave it a whole new facelift. So that way there was just something more for people to be able to be interactive with, okay? So what are some main things you should have on your website, in my opinion? That's funny you would ask. So I have a little bit of a list. All right. So number one on my website, the most important thing that I think is on there is my dates. Okay. That's a place where everybody can find them. And by everyone, I mean bookers and people that want to come see me, and anybody who happens upon my website can go, oh, well, where's this guy from? Where's he playing? Where's he active at? Where can I see him this weekend? Where can I see him next weekend? Right? All of that's very important things. I don't go into my website and edit those dates. They're hosted by a third-party website. So I update all my dates through Bands in Town. So I go into bandsintown.com, I think it is. And so you go to Bands in Town and you can publish all of your events. If you're a musician and you don't have a Bands in Town account, I would highly recommend it. Now that'll blast out all of your supporters that follow you on there with new dates whenever you add them. And you can also use that as a website widget. Okay. So you could take that and put your Bands in Town widget on your website, and then it just automatically updates all of your dates as you post them on Bands in Town. And it doesn't just update them there. It updates them all over the place. My Bands in Town is linked to my Facebook as well. So whenever I update my dates on Bands in Town, it updates them on like 9 different platforms. Also, the web crawlers. So these news stations that have live event blogs and stuff like that are on their website, they will also use bands in town. So they'll crawl the web, and then they'll take those, they'll capture them, and then you'll end up in a newspaper article with your dates. And that happens all the time. I'll be like, oh, I'm in this paper for this, and I'm in this paper for this. So just, Bands in Town is free. I don't pay a penny to Bands in Town, and it's a free account. It's very easy to use. So, the first thing I would say to have on your website is your dates. And like I said, you don't have to put them on there. You don't have to get on your website every single time and then get on your Facebook and update this and update that. You can have that one calendar on Bands in Town, and that can do everything for you. So that makes it a little bit easier. All right, moving on. So the next thing that I would say that you should have on your website is links to tip you digitally. Okay, so your Venmo link, your PayPal, your Cash App, your whatever, Zelle. I think Zelle's a thing now. I'm not sure. So you can put all of those links on your website, and then people, whenever they're out at your shows, if they get on your website, they can see a way to tip you if they don't have cash. A lot of people don't carry cash now, right? So they send it to you through some kind of digital means. Make it easy. Make it easier to move money from the people that want to give you money to you, and you'll get more money. Okay, so all of your tip links, put them on there. If people watch your Facebook live streams or a YouTube video and then they go check out your website, they might be able to find your links on there to be able to tip you. So all of these are just free things that you can do to generate a little bit of income, but also to make yourself appear a little bit more professional as well. And the next thing I would say that you should probably have on there is links to your original music. I have just a tab called Original Music on my page. And you can click that, and it takes you right to my album Feel All Right. It was released in 2020, right? So it takes you right to that. You have all the tracks listed there, plus a couple other tracks that aren't on that album. Just a place where you can, one click can get you right to the music that I wrote, that I produced, well, with other people. With Jeremy and Kevin. But you can get right to that with one click. Nice and easy for the bookers to find, nice and easy for people that want to find it to be able to find it. All right. Another thing that I found very, very important to have on your website is your bio. Okay. And what you're doing by having that professional bio. So just like your paragraph telling venues who you are, what you do. And I guess I shouldn't just say it's for venues. This is for everybody, right? So what a venue normally does, whenever you book a gig with a booker, right? They'll be like, all right, send me a headshot, send me your bio, a little bit of info about you. So I have it for a Facebook event or for a flyer or for whatever they're going to do to talk about it, right? So if you have that on your website, it's one less thing you have to do. It's one less thing the booker has to ask you for. They can just copy and paste off your website. That's why I recommend having a gallery on there with pictures of you as well. Headshots and professional pictures. Shout out to the local business in our area, Sherman's Creek Inn. They offered a free photo shoot for any musicians that were playing at their event. They did that on Sunday of last week. And I'll tell you what, I see the reasons for both sides. It's very beneficial to the musician to have a professional headshot or a professional picture for them to put up, because that's very marketable. And it's also good for the bar, right? The bar needs a pro picture, because if they put up a terrible picture, they're probably not going to have, as a consumer, as the person that's coming out to see live music, you're probably not going to have a lot of faith that the performer is going to be awesome if they don't even take the time to have a good picture, right? So I see it. It was a great event there from Sherman's Creek Inn. I saw Tommy B, one of the local guys here. He was twirling drumsticks and getting his pictures taken. So cool event there. But yeah, have a good picture, right? Have a good picture and have that bio on your website. I think I have like 7 pictures on my on my website, and trying to have some warm weather, some cool weather, so that way there no matter what venue you're playing, they can grab a picture off of there that suits the season and the event, no matter what or when you're playing. And real quick on the bio part, like my bio just basically says, this is me, this is my story, this is when I started playing, this is what I currently play, this is what I've been doing for the last couple of years or whatever. Just pertinent information, right? And I had a booker one time that was like, hey, a lot of people send me bios and they're terrible, and he's like, I have to rewrite everything and it takes extra time. So I just started booking people that had good bios, right? And that's what it comes down to sometimes, is you just need to have something that's marketable to that booker. And some bookers are just looking for somebody that can entertain and has a good bio and a picture. And if you have those three things, now you won the contest for them, right? So, I mean, like, if you know the booker's going to ask you for a picture and a bio anyway, just throw them up on your website. You never have to type it again, right? Just be like, it's all on the website. There you go. Nice and easy. So I used to do individual videos on my website, and I remember the booker, I had a few bookers that were looking at my website. They were like, it's nice that you have videos there and all that. I wish I could share those videos with other people at the bar, or the bar owner, or anybody. So that way there we could get a second opinion, but I can't just, I could share the page from your website and blah, 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 or I could send them a YouTube link, which everybody has YouTube built into their phone and everything else. So I just started linking my YouTube channel. I got rid of the video page, and now, whenever a booker hits that YouTube thing, they can look at everything. They can share my YouTube channel to whoever they want to share it to. It's just a more streamlined process. Works for me. I don't know. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm just telling you what works for me. Also a booking link, okay? On your website, have a form for people to book you, okay? I can't tell you how many times I'll just be sitting around and I'll get a booking request. And that wouldn't probably have come in if I didn't have that link on my website. A lot of these people that book through my website don't have Facebook. You got to remember that, not everybody has access to all the things that we use. So being on all the things that we can really helps. And having a booking email or a booking form on my website just is another avenue for people to reach out if they want to book me. It's just being available, okay? Links to my socials as well are on there, and my cover song list. Now, obviously, this probably won't apply to original musicians in the same way, but you should have your cover song list on your website. If you're a solo cover guy, it's really going to benefit you, okay? Because it's going to give people an idea of things that you play, and it'll also give them ideas of things to request, right? So if they're at their seat and they're looking at your list and they're like, oh, I see, Robert Plant on there, and I see James Taylor, and I see, they look around, they see these different names on there, and they're like, oh, I wonder if he plays this, or I wonder if he plays that. You might not have a single song on your list that somebody wants to request, right? That this individual person can't find a single thing on your list that they like, but it's going to prompt them to come up and be like, hey, I didn't see it on your list, but do you play this? Or do you play that? This is in the same wheelhouse as these other songs. Maybe you do play it. It's a way to get the crowd involved, and then it's also a way for the booker to be able to look at your song list and go, you know what? This is actually a good fit for our bar, right? And it's all about finding out what type of venues you'll be a good fit for. And if a website is the most important thing, I think, that you need to have whenever you're trying to book more gigs, the number two thing that I think is the most important would be identifying the type of venue that you fit into. And I don't think that that's the same thing as identifying the type of venue where you want to play. Okay? Because I had a lot of experiences where I had these venues that were like dream venues of mine, right? It was a beach bar, and it was on the beach, and it was a Memorial Day weekend, right? And I'm standing out on the sand playing in front of all these people. And I was like, this is it, right? This is where I want to be from now on. And it wasn't. After I'd played there, right, I was like, oh, I actually don't fit this venue very well. They wanted all fast music, like all upper-paced fast music. Upper-paced? Fast-paced? There we go. You got a fast pace or whatever. So they wanted all this faster music, all this newer kind of hip-hop and pop music. I'm like, I don't know any of this. I was not a good fit for that venue, and it made it very contentious because I constantly felt like I was falling short. The venue wanted something different from me, and it wasn't actually a place that I should have been playing. So knowing what type of venue you actually fit into and what you should actually market yourself towards will get you more gigs, because you're going to get recurring gigs at those places rather than just the opportunity at the bar where you don't fit, right? You can get a lot more answered messages and a lot less, ignores from bookers if you know that you're targeting the venues where you're a good fit. Like I have a friend, Susie B, right? Susie is an incredible like fingerstyle live looping guitar player out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And, Susie was struggling for a little while to get these gigs in bars and wineries and breweries and all these, the normal places you would find a solo musician on like a Saturday afternoon or whatever, right? And I remember talking to her at one point and telling her that she's just not going after the right venues. She could entertain an entire theater with just her guitar playing. Like her guitar playing is that good. Where I couldn't go in and just play guitar for a theater. They'd be like, boo, like throwing popcorn or whatever you eat at a theater, right? But she could. So it's, whenever she can command that audience. And if she knows that, she's able to go after the venues that won't waste her time, right? So it's just an example. And I get a lot of people that ask me all the time, hey, Dave, how do you not get discouraged whenever you don't hear back, right? If you don't hear back from a booker, how do you just keep messaging other bookers? And I always think, I give them all the information as to why I'm going to be a good fit for their venue. And if they don't feel that I am, that's perfectly fine. Like you're not going to be for every venue, most, and you just got to learn to move on because a lot of venues, if you're not a good fit, they're not going to message you back and tell you you're not a good fit because then you're going to try to negotiate your way in, right? They'll be like, actually, you don't play that much country. And you're like, I play a couple country songs, right? Like just give them all the information as to who you are and what you do. And then they're going to filter out whether you're good or not at their venue. So I hope that point makes sense. And explaining yourself and what you do to bookers is my third way for you to get more gigs. For me to get more gigs, right? Identify what makes you different and then ways to explain that to the bookers, okay? So if you, have an extensive song catalog or if you take requests or you play all originals, like what sets you apart? What makes you different than the other guy that's playing guitar in the corner of the room? Do you have a professional website? Do you run a bunch of social media? Do you, like, what is it? And one thing that I find very, very, very helpful in a million different ways is what do other people say about you? Now you're going to have haters. You're going to have some people that, maybe a little bit off base, but as a consensus, the crowd knows what's up. Like people, the audience that comes to your shows or talks to you, the people that take time to talk to you after you're done playing usually know what's up. Like I had a guy wait to talk to me after the show the one time to tell me, he's like, you missed the G chord like 6 times in the one song. How did that happen? Right. And I'm like, man, like, cause the G chord is just such a simple chord. Right. And I'm like, dude, my fingers weren't working. I was cramping up or whatever. He knew what was up though. Like he came up and talked to me. The criticisms are just as real. They're just as real as the compliments. Right. So whenever people come up after the shows and they tell me, hey, I love it how you interact with the crowd. I love it that you didn't play the same songs that everybody else plays. I love it. Like I pay attention to those things and then I put those in my emails to the bookers. I'm like, I try to interact with the crowd a lot. I try to play a bunch of songs that nobody else plays. Literally just take what they say, give it to the booker. And then the booker's like, oh, no, that sounds like that would be a good fit here. Or it might not be. But those can be very, very useful tools for you to be able to analyze what you're doing and what you're doing different, right? So don't just rely on what you think you do different. Ask other people why you're different. Because here's the thing, like just in my area, just here in central Pennsylvania, there are over 400 solo performers. So there's over 400 people trying to get the same gigs that I am. They're trying to get the same shows. They're trying to do the same things. So you have to identify what sets you apart. And it's not saying that you're better or worse than anybody. What you have to show is what you do different, because we're all just playing music for the most part. Okay. Like, I mean, I know we're, as solo guys, we're a little bit more, all the things, right? But we're just playing music. So what makes your music different than this guy's music? Why should I book you over booking my best friend or booking this guy over here that has whatever reason to book him? So you have to sell yourself It's competition still. It's still a job, right? Still an industry. So just identify what makes you different and how to tell the booker what makes you different, and that'll be a useful tool to move you forward into getting more gigs. Just like number 4, all right? So number 4 of the ways that I think you can get some more gigs, or the ways that I get more gigs, or the ways that anybody could get more gigs, I don't know how to put it without sounding like a pompous ass, is practice, right? So you have to practice. And I know practice sounds dumb, and they're like, why would that even be on a list of ways to get more gigs? We should be practicing. Yes, but how many of us actually practice? I would say not the majority. Every time I talk to all of my friends, they're always like, I wish I practiced more. I wish I did more with this. I wish I had more time for that. Practicing and making it a point to practice multiple times a week, even every day if you can, for the 30 minutes a day or whatever, because they always say if you pick up a guitar, just picking it up, you can get lost in that thing for an hour. So, commit to 30 minutes and then just see what happens from there. But here's the reason why I find that, practicing is the number 4 most important thing as far as getting more gigs, is because you always have something to get better at. There's always something to get better at. Like, no matter what you do or what level of guitar playing you're at, there's always something you can improve on. Speed, dexterity, your fretboard knowledge, your chord shapes, your whatever, scales. I mean, there's so many things, right? So unless you're the best guitar player that's ever lived, you should practice a lot. And I also find that, whenever practicing, like, I constantly get to add new things. Whenever I'm practicing on a regular basis, I'm constantly adding like new, guitar playing styles, new strumming techniques, new picking techniques, new scales, new songs. It gives me a chance to work out new songs. Sometimes my practice sessions are only learning new songs, but that keeps me fresh. That keeps me adding songs to my list. That keeps me learning things that have been requested over and over and over again. So work those into your daily practice. Work those into your daily practice, okay? And those things pay dividends, because the better you get at playing, the more gigs you're going to get. And not only that, like, you're going to suck at anything that you're trying to do until you don't suck at it anymore. So the quickest way to go from, being terrible at something to not being terrible at it is to just do it and just stay at it and just constantly learn and adapt and try to learn new things and fail and then, adapt to that and then learn new things. Like, it's such a process, but if you're not practicing, you're never going to get better. And maybe that's okay because you're the best that's ever lived, but I'm not. I have to practice multiple times a day because I'm just trying to get better. I'm always trying to get better. The better that I become as a musician, the more comfortable I'm going to be on stage, the more easily I'll be able to work on the other areas, right? If I'm not worried about missing notes and screwing up guitar parts and all that stuff, I can focus a little bit more on interacting with the crowd and joking around and having a good time and remembering why we're all there for this live music experience, right? But if I'm sitting there worried the whole time that I'm messing this up or I don't know how to play that, it can really detract from the evening. I'm sure everybody here has been at a concert before where, the guy's just staring down at his guitar the whole time, or you can see he's concentrated so hard on trying to get that thing. And you know what that comes from? A lot of times it's not because he doesn't know how to play it. It's because he hasn't been practicing it over and over and over and over and over again, or he has. And it's a really, really hard part. I mean, this is very big generalization, but you get what I'm saying. Like, if you spend more time on the front end, you can have a little bit more fun on the back end. You know what I'm saying? So just keep that in mind. Practice, right? All right, that's going to bring us to number 5. So my 5th and final thing that I would recommend that you do if you're trying to get more gigs is to make a standard booking message. Now, like I said, we already encompassed a lot of these things in talking already for the last 25 minutes, but, make a standard booking message. So whenever you send out an email, send out the same email to every venue. Send out the same Facebook message to every venue. Send out all of these. Just make this very streamlined so you can copy, paste, Command C if you're a Mac user, or Control C or whatever, and Control V. That's some computer speak for copy and paste, right? So just copy and paste these messages and make it, because it's going to give you way more time to do other things if you're not spending a ton of time writing these individualized messages to each venue. So what should you include in your standard booking message? I'm going to give you the things that I have found to be the most important whenever bookers get back to me, right? So there's bookers that will send me messages. Literally, there's bookers that I can't book a show with them because I'm busy, like I'm too busy or whatever, or our dates don't line up. And they'll send me back a message and be like, you know what I really appreciate was this. What I really appreciate was that. So these seem to be the general items that venue bookers or managers or talent buyers seem to be interested in whenever you message them for a gig. All right. And we're just going to run down through all of them. Number one is if you can have an EPK or an electronic press kit. All right. If you can do that, there's websites out there. There's a bunch of them. Sonic Bids is one I used to use. An electronic press kit is going to have all of those things that I talked about there at the beginning with the website. So it's going to have your tour dates. It's going to have links to original music. It's going to have gallery pictures. It's going to have a bio. So you could literally bypass needing a website. Maybe if you had this EPK, you'd still benefit yourself to have a website. So you'd have, links for booking and all those other things. But if you can get an EPK, it is a nice way to just sum all of this stuff up in one place. Now, if you can't get an EPK, or like with me with Sonic Bids, I was like, I'm not paying all year just for them to host the same things that I'm hosting on my website. So it didn't make sense for me. So I made my own kind of condensed, clickable EPK. Let's put it that way. So what should you have in your EPK? Well, I'm going to list all of them, and then we'll just come back through and break them all down a little bit, okay? So number one, your name. Surprise. Number two, your location. Number three, what you specialize in. Okay, like what we identified earlier. What makes you different? What is your speciality? Speciality? Specialty. Speciality. What is that, man? All right. And then number four, your links, right? So your website, your YouTube, your socials. And I would only include those if you're active on your socials. If you have completely inactive social accounts, don't even include them. There's no reason to. And I'll get to why in just a bit. But there's definitely no reason. If you're not active on your socials, you don't have new pictures on there, there's not any kind of activity going on, don't even mention your socials in your emails. And then, thank the booker at the end. Thank them for their time, like every single time, right? So like I said, if we have a standard message and we have all these things in there, at the end of every single one of those, you should have a thank you. Because they're taking the time to read your message. So basically, they're taking time to look at your resume. Because your email, your booking email to them is your resume. You're telling them why they should hire you, and then basically hoping to get the interview, which is the gig. I mean, the gig is basically like a working interview. So just treat it like that and understand that you're trying to sell yourself to them in each and every single one, and just be grateful for the fact that they looked at them, right? Now, I would say if you want to add anything personalized to your message to these venues, tell them why you would be a good fit for their venue. Okay, so if you notice something about a venue, like whenever I went after this winery in Delaware, I was very active in being like, hey, you know what? I would be a great fit for your venue because I saw the musicians that you have play there. I play the same types of music. I love crowd involvement. It looks like your crowd gets really engaged there. I like to take requests. I heard people commenting on one of your things that they loved the fact that this guy took requests. So just, make it a little bit more personalized in that way. But don't be like, I think I would be a good fit because my uncle Jed said that I would be awesome at playing music. Or don't tell them I've always wanted to play music in front of people. So, because both of those things are things that I've heard as a booker. And I'm going to get into that in just a second. Both of those things are things that I've heard in messages as to people, like whenever they reached out, they were like, this is the reason why you should book me. And it had nothing to do with any reason why I should book them. So just make sure that, whatever you're telling them is something pertinent to their decision on whether to hire you or not. And here's one huge piece of advice that I can give anybody who's struggling to get gigs right now. And that is wait until follow-up messages to discuss your pricing. Don't put it in your initial message. Don't put it in your, about me section on your website. Don't put it anywhere. Here's the reason why, in my opinion, is whenever you message a booker and you say, this is me and this is what I charge an hour, if that is over what they budget, if that is over their budget at all, they will not message you back. Okay. You don't even get a chance to have a negotiation. For the most part, most venues will just be like, well, you're outside of my price range. I can't afford it. But you don't even get a chance to, weigh the options. You don't get a chance to have the dance back and forth of, well, how about this much plus this much tab? Or how about, I could do it for cheaper because it's closer. I could give you this date, which is closer to my house, rather than booking it somewhere else for a lower price. Right? So you can negotiate, but don't put your price in there at first. That is the best way to not get an email back. Be willing to at least get the offers back from them if they're interested and you're a good fit. Because if you're a good fit, they're going to reach back out. Then the ball's in your court as to whether or not you want to book for the price they want to pay. But at least have that conversation, and you never get to that if you put your price in first. Now, I have been on the other side of this as well. I have booked for some shows, some smaller shows. I booked for Capona Festival in Harrisburg the one year. And, some of the messages I got, I also analyzed as a musician, as a booker. So I looked at them through my eyes and went, man, like some people just aren't good at the booking part, right? And sometimes you need to have a booker because you can't grasp certain things, right? Or maybe you just don't have time. But I think that if you just nail these 5 things, and these don't take a lot of time. I mean, if you need help building a website, let me know. I can build a website for you for way cheaper and probably more efficient than most web developers out there. And then you just pay a monthly fee. Like my website is on Squarespace. I do all the maintenance and updating and design and all that work myself. And it cost me $20 a month, I think, to host my website. So it's not a expensive thing, and it has a gigantic return on investment whenever you're able to book more gigs. You're really just looking to get that first gig, right? We're only booking that first gig because what you're hoping is that you're a good fit for the venue and that they'll rebook. So now I've been doing this full time for 2.5 years. Prior to that, I'd been doing it for a couple of years, part time, a couple of days a week. And now I don't really have to reach out to anyone for the most part. I used to have to reach out to a ton of venues. Now I reach out to them whenever I want to book. But for the most part, I'm playing a lot of recurring gigs and then referral gigs. So you want to get to the point where you're playing referral and recurring gigs if you're trying to make the career out of this. You want return customers, right? You don't want those one-time things. You don't want the one time here where you didn't fit or the one time there. Having a core group of venues that rebook you and rebook you and rebook you can really give you a financial base to take some chances on other venues that may not be a good fit sometimes, to have those one-off situations. But you always want to have that core group of venues that books you. And one thing to keep in mind whenever you're doing all this, you're moving through all these booking process steps, right, is that you're probably not going to get an answer from a lot of venues. And if you can switch your thinking from this venue isn't answering because they hate me or because I'm not good enough to play there or because one of the other trillion reasons your mind will come up with as to why that venue won't book you, if you can switch your thinking from that to I'm not probably a good fit for that venue. Or maybe they thought because I was located, 60 miles away that I wouldn't come in for that amount of pay. Or, there's a host of reasons why they probably didn't book you. It's almost never a personal rejection of your abilities as a musician or anything else. It's almost never that, right? I would say that's a rarity of cases. So whenever I was booking for Capona, right, and I got like 500 submissions to play for Capona Fest the year that I was booking. And when I went through and looked at everything, it was who had videos I could look at, who had stuff that sounded good, whose live performances sounded great, who had a good catalog, who did I think was going to be a good fit for downtown Harrisburg, who did I think would show up on time, and who didn't have an ego issue, and who was going to be easy to work with. There was a million things that went into it. You know what I mean? And none of that was like, whenever I looked at somebody, I never went, oh, not you, or, oh, bleh. It was always, what can I find out about you? Because most of the time, the person booking the music for the venue or wherever doesn't know you. They don't know you. Even you could be playing in that town for forever. I played in Dillsburg a couple of weeks ago, and there was a person there from the Dillsburg Legion. This is very local for central Pennsylvania, but there was a person there from the Dillsburg Legion that took a card and was like, you know, I messaged my booker and asked if she had ever heard of you, and she said no. And I'm like, man, I've been playing Dillsburg for 5 years, like 5 years at different venues. I've met people that go to the Legion. I've been asked by the Legion to play a couple times, and then the new booker has no clue who I am. And I'm perfectly fine. Like, that sounded super conceited. That is not what I meant. They've never heard of me. They don't know who I am. They just don't. They've never seen me play, whatever, right? And now I have to, you know, go through the same process with that person that I went through with the booker prior to them at that venue, and the booker prior to them. So just keep that in mind whenever you reach out to these venues, is you're dealing with people that know other people that play music probably. You know, most bookers that step into a spot of booking for a venue at least know some musicians from the area. And they're like, I can get you this guy, I can get you that guy. Well, guess who they're going to book first then? Is they're going to book the people that they trust to not make them look like a fool, right? And that's the case of most bookers. So just, if you can approach it as knowing that you are selling you are literally telling them why they should hire you. So tell them why they should hire you. And then you're going to get more gigs when you approach it that way. Okay. So, and I'm always here. Like I said, if you want me to help build a website, I'm down. I will help you build a website, you know, and we'll get you the best website that your fans can go to, and it'll get you more gigs. We can do that. If you want some help with anything else, like I said before a million times, and I'll say it again, I don't know everything. I don't know everything at all. I'm a mediocre guitar player and an okay singer. I know that I treat this like a business because I don't ever want to go back to doing something else that I don't want to do just for money, right? So I'm going to treat this more seriously than anything I've ever treated anything else. Doesn't mean I'm not going to have fun with music, but, you know, I want to bring light to the business side of it so more people can do this for a living rather than something that they hate, right? So, all right. Well, that's going to wrap for this week. Like I said, if you have any questions or think there's anything that I can help you with, solomusicianpodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach out through Facebook and a million other ways. So if you want to get in touch, get in touch. Lots of guests coming up on the podcast. We're going to talk to Kevin Nelson, which is my producer. We're going to talk to Wally DeWall, the guy that got everything started for me after the homeless dude gave me the guitar. We're going to talk to my buddy Ed Varner. There's a ton of people coming up. So a lot of solo musician guys are going to be hopping on here. Bob Patterson from the Nailed It podcast and a million other things he's going to be on. So if you're interested in coming on, shoot me a message as well. Things are about to get a little crazy. I'm taking a job at a local radio station. So you might be hearing me. I'm going to be on the radio. Let's put it that way. And which is super cool. But I'm not going to stop playing gigs. So I'm still going to see you guys at gigs. And I got a bunch of other things, a bunch of other irons in the fire right now, a bunch of new merch coming out and all that fun stuff. So trying to get some live streams in the works here. So anyway, that was like a advertisement at the end. All right. So I will see you guys on Thursday for the Thursday Thoughts episode of this podcast. And thanks again for listening. If you want to share it with your friends, I would love it. And if you don't share it with your friends, I would hate it. So I will see you on Thursday for Thursday Thoughts. I hope you guys have a great 1.5 days. All right. See ya.